What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. I am Sunny from Soulful Vibes Co. and I am Sunny Brooks. Today I am answering all of the questions I've been receiving about ancestors. I already did a video on how to build an ancestor altar, and I did a Q&A ancestors part 1. This is the Q&A ancestors part 2. Okay? So there was many questions on the how to build an ancestor altar. There was questions on the Q&A. I got questions via email. I got questions on the Soulful Vibes post. So I just gathered all the questions, put them right here on my phone, and I'm going to answer them. Some of them may be repeats, but for the most part, I think they are different, so I'll be answering them. It's quite a bit, so bear with me. And I believe that between Q&A part 1, Q&A part 2, all questions about ancestors will be answered. If not, drop them below and I'll answer them. The first question says, I do not know any of my ancestors. How would I go about finding that info? When you partake in the calling of my ancestors, is it to help me in any area of my life? Okay, few questions. So they don't know their ancestors and they want to know how to find out that info. So you not knowing your ancestors is no problem. That's one of the common concerns that a lot of people address, that they don't know their ancestors. They don't know any of them. They were either adopted or their family all passed, so they don't know them. Anything like that. It's okay. You don't necessarily have to know them by name. And even if you did know some of your ancestors, it's impossible to know all of your ancestors because our line and bloodline goes back so far. So how do you find out that information? One, to know their names. Of course you can like spiritually connect with them, but a more a more realistic way to find out is through ancestry, right? You can get your DNA tested, and you can, the sites are like 23andMe and ancestry.com. I did Ancestry, right? And what you'll be able to do is take these basically these different family trees and stuff and connect them back to you. Of course, it's going to show you your bloodline, like what part of the world you come from, what part of the world your ancestors migrated from. But then it's going to test your DNA amongst other people's DNA, and there's going to show similarities. So it may say, hey, this is your first cousin, this is your uncle, this is your granddad. These are ways for you to learn names by piecing things together. That's a realistic way, right? A way that is physical that you can find out, or you can start connecting and building a spiritual relationship with your ancestors. Some ancestors will reveal their name to you, or some may not, but you are able to know their presence. So I know when which ancestor presence is present at that moment, right? Based off of the energy. So realize that these ancestors are energy, they are spirits. And just because you don't know their name does not mean that you can't recognize them or you can't pay homage to them. So those are some ways, but don't allow not knowing your ancestor's name to discourage you from building an ancestor altar or starting some sort of ancestor veneration. When you partake in the calling of ancestors, is it to help? So I'm guessing the question is, when you start venerating and paying homage and recognizing your ancestors, will it help you in any area of your life? Yes. It will literally help you in all areas of your life. There's something that I personally believe in, which is called ancestral drainage. Ancestral drainage is when, I'm trying to explain it in an easy way so we don't get confused. But basically when energy is transferred, right? So when their spirit is transferred to the spiritual realm, there are some things that they did not get to accomplish, or that they left without paying basically their karmic debt. That passed down in lineage. You ever heard of like generational curses? You ever heard of, oh, you get that from your grandmother? Things like that. If you can get, oh, you look like your grandmother or you sound like your grandfather, things like that. If you can get those physical attributions, you can definitely get the spiritual attributions also. Sometimes those spiritual things are not things that are positive and that's going to move you forward. Sometimes our ancestors have debt that they have to pay, and when they don't pay that debt or can't pay their debt, it gets passed down. then that's where the ancestral drainage come in. If you find that you can't, you take 10 steps forward and get knocked 15 steps back, things like that. If you feel like I can never have a great love life, or I can never catch a break, stuff like that, a lot of times that is our ancestors, either the ancestors' karmic debt, or the ancestors sabotaging things. If you kind of think about, if you had a father, a mother, a grandma that was on earth, and you never talked to them, you never visit them, you never gave them offers, like you never went and take flowers, never went and took them to lunch, things like that, there is going to be some sort of sabotaging that will happen a lot of times in the family, right? They may say, oh, you know, this person will never come see me, I don't know what's going on, I don't really care what's going on. Or somebody say, hey, so-and-so needs help, say your name is Mimi. Mimi needs help, grandma. And she's like, well, they don't have nothing to do with me because she don't come over here. Same type of thing, right? So if your ancestors has transcended and you're not giving them any help, you're not giving them any offerings, you're not giving them any energy to help them move through the spiritual planes and help them move through their karmic debt, they're going to drain your energy because you are connected to their bloodline. If you went to go see grandma, if you went and built that relationship with grandma while grandma was here, when you need something, you can go to grandma and she's gonna be like, oh, Mimi, you can have this. Oh, Mimi, don't worry, I got you. Or they say, oh, Mimi in trouble. She's coming to your rescue because you have given her something to feed off of on a physical. It works the same way in the spiritual world, right? So it literally changes your entire life. I'm not saying this for just, oh, all the woo-woo. I'm saying this because it happened with my life. Like, both of my parents are deceased. One thing for me is I wanted to still have a connection to them. The person that my mother was and the warrior my father was, there was no way that I didn't want to connect with that on a daily basis or have that presence. I was the kid that I'm like, I'm going to tell my daddy, or my daddy gonna do this, or my daddy said this, or my daddy, right? That was me. So when he passed on, I still wanted that energy. And in order for me to have him come through for me, it has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. Reciprocity. I give, I receive. So all areas in my life started enhancing once I started paying homage to those that came before me. It's the same way on a physical plane. Those people were not always ancestors. They were actually here. And the people that are here now, if you had a working relationship, think about it. You want relationships with people that is going to be mutually beneficial. You give and then you get. If you were just giving, or they was just giving, it's going to be a strain. Same thing with the ancestors. You got to think, they navigated this plane. They navigated this world before they were ancestors. So they know how to do things. And not only that, they're able to do more than what they were when they were here. There was times where I could say I want to call my daddy. My daddy couldn't come because he was way somewhere else. Spiritual, anywhere, anytime, anything, they can be there. So we give not only to receive blessings and help our life progress, but we give to keep their name alive, to keep their life alive, to keep their spirit alive through us and on earth. I know that was a lot, but whatever. To start, what would be wise for me to... would it be wise for me to set my altar in my bedroom? My space is limited in my apartment, and should my altar face east? Should your altar face east? To answer that question, that is up to you. I have not been directed to face my altar east, west, south, nor up. Look, I put my altar somewhere, my ancestors are okay with it. If you are being guided meaning your intuition, your ancestors may have come to you in a dream. You may have meditated and saw it face the east, something like that. Not, oh, this YouTuber or this Instagrammer said it gotta face east. Everything don't work for everybody. Every ancestor don't like everything. So if you're being guided to that, set it up on the east, right? And is it okay to set your altar up in your bedroom? Yes and no. Let me explain. This is another question that's very common. Where should they set their altar up? If you live in a 5-bedroom house and it's just you, your spouse, and your child, and you have 4, maybe 3, let's say, because 1 is an office, 3 extra bedrooms or 2 extra bedrooms, and you decide to set your altar up in your bedroom, there's a problem. That's a problem. You got a whole, you can make the whole room an altar, right? Or you got this huge mansion and you decide to put them in a closet in a little corner. That's probably a problem. Just because you have the space and you're not using that space to venerate them. But if you are in say if you live with someone and all you have is your room, your space that you claim that's yours is a room, where else are you going to put it? Ancestors are understanding. They're not asking you to build an entire shrine on the kitchen counter and you have roommates. They're not asking that. You can build it where you want to, but just be taking consideration of the space you have. If you have limited space, use the space you have. If you have a lot of space, you better use that space to venerate them. Not saying they got to have an altar in every corner or every place in your house, but you need to make sure that you're using the space wisely. If you have a bedroom and that's all you have, they will understand that, okay, I am sacrificing this part of my bedroom for you, for y'all's safe space, for my sacred space to bond with you all, for your energy and your spirits to dwell in this space, right? Unless you have this 5-bedroom mansion and they guide you to put that altar in your bedroom, I would advise to use the space you have. If you have an entire apartment, 1 bedroom, I have a 1-bedroom apartment. My wife and my ancestor altar, both of our ancestor altars are in our living room, dining room situation, because we don't have we do have a dining room, but we decided to use it as an extended living room. So it's in that area. I'm not going to put my ancestor altar in my bedroom because I have other space I can use and utilize. Yes, I don't like when people come over and my ancestor altar is there. However, that's something that I got to deal with. That's my own self-conscious. That's my own self-insecurities, right? So that's something I have to deal with. It's okay for them to be there. I wouldn't hide them in my closet because I have other space I can use. So use the space you have. They will understand. If you ask yourself, okay, I got all this space and I want to put them in this little closet. If that feels right to you, do it. Right? Do it. But if it doesn't, don't do it. Use your space. It's kind of like if your mama or your grandma, let's say you use grandma. If granny came over to visit, you got this 5-bedroom house and you like, granny, you about to share the room with me. Would you do that, or would you give granny her own room? It's like she got space, she can have her own room. Like, let her have her own room. You're not going to make her stay in your room because there's space. You're not going to even feel right. You're going to be like, dang, I got space I could give her, but I'm forcing her to stay in this space. Right? So be very mindful of the space that you have, and they will understand that you're sacrificing something. What if you don't have any oils? That's in reference to my last video when I say I blessed the altar with oils. If you don't have oils, skip that part. It's that simple. You don't have to use oils. You don't. I have some blessed oil. I also use the ancestor oil from our shop. I also use different oils that I have conjured up. It's fine. That may not be your thing. But if you're being led to like, hey, I need some oils, get you some oils. Make some oils. That's a whole nother topic for a different day. But if you don't have none and you need to set your altar up, skip that step. It's not a necessity. It's not imperative that you have the oils. How do I get in tune with my ancestors? Start a connection. These questions, literally frame them if the person was alive. How would you build a relationship with your granny if she was alive? You would probably say, okay, I would probably call her to talk to her. I would probably go over and visit her. I would probably spend a little time with her, probably go out and eat with her. I'd probably bring her some stuff like some food, or I know granny like wine. I'm going to probably give her some wine. I'm going to work on the relationship. It's the exact same thing. The only thing is you can't see them in a physical. Let me say that. Some people cannot see them in the physical. Some people see spirits and things. But for a lot of people, they don't. So you may not be able to see them in the physical. But how would you build that relationship if they were here? You would talk to them. You would initiate that. I think the first thing you need to do is initiate it. Call on them. Call on them. Call on them. Call on them. Hello, hey, granny. Okay, you don't know their name. That's fine. Let's use it as an example. We don't know the name. Hello, ancestors. I'm Sunny. I'm Sunny Brooks, daughter of so-and-so and so-and-so. Or if you don't know your parents, I am adopted and I was raised by so-and-so and so-and-so. I was raised in this place at this day. I don't know any of my biological ancestors. So those that are here and that hears me, can we connect? I use this libation. I pour this libation for you. I burn this candle for you. I have this cup of water, this bowl of water for your spirit to dwell. I offer you this tobacco as an offering. I offer this rum as a hard offering, a hard liquor offering. I offer this wine for those who don't drink hard liquor. I offer these flowers as a token of my love and appreciation for paving a way and for helping me be who I am. I want to connect with you. Send me signs that you hear me. Send me signs that you are with me. Send me signs that we are starting on a journey to getting to know each other, right? Same exact thing. Initiate it. Talk. Speak to them. And you say, you know what? I didn't feel something. I ain't hear nothing yet. Keep trying until you do. Just like you ain't talked to somebody in years and you all of a sudden expect to hear from them every day, all day. It's not going to happen. You may have to make an initial conversation and say, dang, we ain't talking years. It's been ages. And then you got to keep reaching out. You got to keep reaching out until you get a response. Until you get something. We got to realize that we're not going to, first, a lot of us, it may not be a big response. We are so disconnected with our bodies and so disconnected from the simple things that we don't notice the small changes. We're expecting like a big L. I'm trying not to curse, whatever. A big ass crow to fly by, the windows to shake, the dogs to bark. Every time, it's not that. It may just be a simple, the hair on the back of your neck stands up. It may be a little tingle in your scalp that you feel. It may be seeing some repeat numbers. We have to be in tuned and in touch with the small things because they are going to come through. Just keep initiating those conversations and set time aside every day to connect with them. It don't have to be an hour. You can literally take a minute. Wake up. Hey, ancestors, thank you. Thank you for guiding and protecting and loving me. Simple, connecting, acknowledging them. How do you know and learn what they like? Now, this is one of the things that I'm going to say is a work in progress. When you first start out, I think they are going to accept almost any offerings unless it's some offensive stuff, right? But for the most part, they're going to accept any offerings, especially if your ancestors are not being venerated at the current moment. If there's no other family members that's talking to them, that's reaching out to them, that's giving them energy, anything like that, they're probably going to accept it because the things that we offer, we are offering energy. It looks to us as if it's flowers and money and food. It is energy we are giving them, and that it's feeding their spirit. So they're going to take what they can get. When you start to build that relationship, that's when you're going to start noticing some shifts. You may notice that something falls off your altar. You may notice when you're trying to buy something, it keeps falling or it keeps dropping or something's happening. Or you may notice you put something on your altar and you feel a little weird that day. That's probably because they don't like it. Just think about relationship. I always bring it back to the physical. If you didn't have a relationship with Granny, you go to Granny's house, you probably just gonna bring her something like, I'm not coming empty-handed, so I'm gonna bring her these roses. Granny gonna be like, oh, thank you, baby, and put it in a jar, and you leave, and she probably tell Papa, you know I don't like them damn roses, but she took it because it's something. After a while, Granny gonna be like, sweetheart, honey, baby, you know I don't really like roses like that. Exact same thing. Exact same thing. Okay? How long do you keep the ancestor altar set up for? Literally forever. Like, it's not for me. Remember, everything that I'm telling you is my personal opinion. I also believe, I truly wholeheartedly believe that the ancestor altar should not be taken down. It's kind of like, how long does their grave site stay there? It's there forever. It's forever. The altar is for them because their spirit is forever and ever doing. ever enduring, and it's eternal. And the ancestor altar represents them in their spirit and a place for them to dwell. I'm not going to take it down and close it up and box it up and do all that every few days, because I want their spirit to dwell. I want them to have a place to commune and a place for them to receive energy. Also, like if you're moving, that's different, because I have moved a whole lot in my life. Of course I had to pack my altar up. I wasn't walking around moving with my altar, like I wasn't doing that. But other than that, as long as I'm stationed, there is an altar. Even when I travel, I set up a mini altar or give some sort of offering to my ancestors. So I think it should be set up forever. Forever. Yes, you can change it. Yes, you can move it. Yes, you can redecorate it. I just did like a facelift for my altar a few weeks ago. So you can do that, but you're not taking it down. Someone asked, where do you recommend the altar be in place? I kind of covered that. Wherever you are being led to place it, just as long as you're utilizing the space you have. How would you know what they do and don't like? I covered that. The cleansing process for your altar, is there a particular protocol you follow? The cleaning process. Is there a particular protocol you follow? Not necessarily a protocol, but I'm going to probably take everything off it, wipe it down. Exactly how I set it up is going to be the same thing. I'm going to cleanse it with Palo Santo or sweetgrass, whichever one I'm feeling, or another cleansing stick. I'm going to cleanse it with Florida water. I'm going to bless it with, I'm going to bless it with Florida water and bless it with oil. I'm going to reset things up. Like, that is my cleaning process. Do you wash the white cloth covering the altar? I do not. My white cloth is satin, and you guys keep seeing me looking over there because my ancestor altar is over there. But my cloth is satin, and there is nothing. I give offerings and things, but the offerings that I give is placed on a plate, so there's nothing really wasting or spilling on the cloth, and I keep things clear from over there. But if something was to happen and say I was to spill something on it, I probably wouldn't wash it. I probably would get a new one, to be honest. But can you wash it? Sure. I'm pretty sure you can. Probably hand wash it and hang it up out to dry. If so, do you dry it in the sun, or is it okay to use a dryer? I would probably let it sun dry. I just wouldn't put my satin cloth in the dryer, but I'll probably let it dry outside. But it's all up to you. Some of the questions you guys are asking is going to look different for you. You may have a cotton cloth and it may be okay for you to wash it. Your ancestor may be okay for you to wash it and dry it. It's not my case. So just you have to tap in and really trust yourself. As for refilling the water and the rum, do you empty what's in a glass outside on the ground, or should one wait till the glasses are empty as to allow the ancestors to get their fill? Good question. I personally pour my ancestor, like if I offer rum or wine or something like that, I pour it. It depends. Let me say that. It depends on what I'm led to do, because sometimes I will give my offering back to the earth. Like I will throw it outside, not like on the ground in front of everybody, but like in the grass area, or I will pour it down the sink if it's like liquid, or I would just put it in a bag and trash it. It just depends on what I'm led to, but I rarely, let me not say that. I won't say I would rarely let it get empty, but sometimes when I give rum, be surprised, the next day I come back, the little shot glass be empty. And I'm like, dang, y'all want some more? And I'll just give them some more. But sometimes it'll be halfway full and I'll just toss it out, wash it out, and give them some more, or toss it over the balcony, depending on what I'm being led to. So it's up to you. If I can't get items for the altar yet, how else can I connect or work with them? How about this? Use what you have. You don't necessarily have to get the items. If you have in your house, say, okay, what does someone probably always have in their house? Everyone probably have a knife. Everyone has water in a cup for the most part, not everyone. But you have access to the water, a cup. You have, maybe say you don't have a candle in your house, because everybody don't have candles. But you have some chips or something. Talk to the water. Say, in the meantime, until I get the candle, ancestors, please dwell here. I pour this water for you to dwell, your spirits to dwell here. And this is an offering of these Cheeto Puffs that I have for you, and this Pepsi that I have. use what you have. You don't have to go out and get a whole bunch and have to create a whole shrine eventually, yes. But in the meantime, do that. And also you can connect with them by talking to them, by meditating with them, by singing to them, with them, by journaling, allowing them to journal through you, by praying. You can connect to them any way that you find fit, but don't feel discouraged if you don't have the items. Set the altar up how you find fit, when you find fit, rather than trying to wait on the perfect moment and the perfect items. How do I know which items to place for my ancestors? Two things. One, you can place items that they liked when they were here. So if your grandma loved bacon, you may want to put a spatula. If your granddad loved smoking out of a pipe, you might want to get like a tobacco pipe. If your mom always wore pink nail polish, you may want to get some pink nail polish. So you can get items that they like. And then the other thing you can do is get items that are kind of universal. So you're going to represent the elements. You're going to put water. You're going to put a candle or anything else that you're being led to, because I covered the elements in the altar video. I covered favorite items, things like that. But you may be led to add, like, get a cup of dirt. That's random, but getting a cup of dirt and putting it on there, you may be led to that. And come to find out, somebody down the line might be like, you know, your granddaddy loved to garden. And you're like, oh, that's why I got the dirt that time. Add the items that you're being led to. Represent some of their favorite items. If you don't know any of their favorite items, that's okay. Put some other stuff. Just give from your heart. When you give from your heart, a lot of times you won't be wrong. How do you find out what your ancestors like? I covered that. How often should I change my offerings? How often should you change your offerings? It's up to you. It depends on what it is. But you can, so I know some people, they change their offerings every time they eat. So I'll put out breakfast and then at lunchtime throw that out and put lunch. Some people do it that way, or some people leave that same meal for a few days. Sometimes it depends. So if I cook some collard greens and black eyed peas and cornbread and stuff like that, guess what? I'm going to leave that for a minute because I know my ancestors like that. My ancestors from the South, they like that. They want them collard greens. So I'm going to leave it up there for 2-3 days. Sometimes it gets bad because I'm like, what is this smell? Oh my gosh, what is the smell? And then I'm like, oh, the food on my ancestor altar. Because if you know greens sit out, about 2-3 days it goes start smelling. Whatever. That. You can sit it out however long. Or you can change it every meal. Or you can change it once a day. You can say, hey, I'm going to give them a new offering every day. Do that. That's a good start. Say, I'm going to give them an offering. So today you probably gave them coffee. Tomorrow you're going to change that out and give them wine. You're going to change that out and probably then give them some chips. Whatever. Do it. How else can I connect if I don't own all the items as of now? Went over that. Is there an ideal area of the home I should have my altar set? No, it's no ideal area. Just use the space you have. Ideal, I would probably say somewhere safe and sacred that you deem sacred. If I'm to offer food, how long should it be left there, and other gifts as well? So food, I covered that. Other gifts, so if you give flowers, probably until they die, and then they're dead, you want to take those off because you don't want dead things on your altar. If you're giving, like, so for example, I have something like a certain liquor on my altar. I have had that liquor on my altar for years, right? And it's closed. It's like a closed bottle. Certain items I just have on there that's universal, that stay for a minute. So that may work for you also. How do I summon them so they know I'm giving them something, or simply want to talk to them? How do I summon them so they know I'm giving them something, or simply want to talk to them? Kind of said that. You initiate the conversation. I said that before. Thanks, Sonny. You're welcome, love. How long do you keep the offering of food on the altar? Went over that. And how do you dispose of it? Went over that. How do you know if the altar ancestors accepted it? Again, that's going to be the subtle changes that you may feel. At first, you may not feel anything. And then eventually, you're going to start seeing some stuff. Like, when I make whole meals for them and stuff like that, I start to see certain shifts in my life. I'm like, oh, that was moved because of my ancestors. As small as getting a parking spot at the grocery store, you're like, thank you, ancestors, right? So you will know. You just got to trust yourself. One thing that keeps coming up when I'm reading these questions is trust. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your intuition. You have to know that you're going to be guided to the right place, the right thing, at the right time. All will be well. Please let us know how often we should switch out the offerings and how we know they've been accepted. Went over that. Should we replace the tobacco every so often? How do you know if they accepted your offerings? Kind of went with the accepted already, but the tobacco, if you have it, like, so I always have a what is it called, like a little cigar on my altar at all times. But if it's like fresh tobacco, maybe you replace it when it starts to get stale or stink or something like that. I'm not sure. It's up to you. But I will probably, certain tobacco I leave on my altar at all times, like my cigars. But if I'm putting cigarettes and stuff on an altar, I'm probably going to take that off not too long after. I have had my altar up for a while now. I was wondering, was it okay to burn other candles on the altar, such as love or money? I personally, people have different opinions about this, because some people burn money and ancestor and love candles and other candles. Basically, they use their ancestor altar for other workings. I personally do not. I have a working altar, and what I mean by working altar is the altar that I do my work on. So if I'm doing some money stuff or some love stuff or some protection stuff, I'm doing it on that altar. And when I'm not doing work, that altar is just set up as like a sacred altar. I do not believe in working. Let me say this. I do work my ancestor altar, but I do not work it for things that is not going to benefit my ancestors also. However, me attracting money and love will benefit my ancestors, but that I think is kind of vain to use their space where they dwell to try to attract physical. Sometimes I never burn other candles, but sometimes I set my intentions. I may write them down on a paper, and I may sit them on my ancestor altar for them to help me accomplish those things. That's different. But creating an entire ritual and candle and everything and using that altar for that, no, my ancestor altar is for my ancestor altar, for me to connect with them, for them to dwell, for them to receive offerings, for me to ask for their help when needed. And the money and love and whatever other rituals and candles is used elsewhere. And of course, while I'm doing that work, I am calling on my ancestors to help me through that, but I am not necessarily using their space for something else. It's kind of like, oh, I gave you this space, but now I really want to use it for something else. Setting intentions and saying, hey, I need your help with this, or hey, I need y'all to come through for this. It's different, but burning a different candle, I don't. I just burn my white ancestor candle for that. And how do you know that the OGs have accepted your offerings, and how long does the food stay? Went over that. Also, something just came up. Y'all, trying to find a nice way to say it. Okay, whatever. It is what it is. Don't be going to ask y'all ancestors for a whole bunch of stuff and y'all ain't giving nothing. Okay, this is part of, you gotta give to them. You need to make offerings to them. I'm not saying you can't ask them for something, but stop going there empty-handed. Stop going with your hand out. You just want something. You just want something, and you're not giving them nothing. That's not how that go. It's not. That's just a message that came to me that I'm giving y'all. Ongoing flame ? Does the candle need to be on 24/7? My candle stays on majority of the day. If I leave the house, I put the candle out, but if I'm home, the candle stays on. As long as it's in a safe space, I can keep my candle on while I'm here. When I leave, I put it out. Sometimes I forget. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie to y'all. Maybe once a month I may forget to put the candle out, but it's in a safe space, so if something was to happen, it will be fine. But yeah, just, it's up to you. If you want to put it out when you go to sleep. For me personally, I leave my candle running as long as I'm home. I want the energy of my altar to stay warm as much as it can. And then they say, or do you just leave it on while you're just at the altar? That could be something for you. You may put it out, and then every time you go to the altar, you feel led to light it, and when you leave the altar, you take it off. But you can, possibly you can. What if you don't have any personal effects of your ancestors but still know who they are, will the altar still be effective? I'm not quite sure what you mean by personal effects, but yes. So I'm guessing you mean like if you didn't have personal relationships with them, will the altar still be effective? Yes, it will. You got to think, these ancestors are looking for people and looking for energy to venerate them and help them in the spiritual world. They are. I don't know my ancestors beyond my great-great-grandmother, maternal, and my great-grandfather. I only know of them. That's okay. Use them. Say, hey, Grandma Rosa Lee, and hey, Grandma something else Lee, and hey, Pops this, and hey, Uncle that. That's fine. Remember, you can always say, and all of my unknown ancestors. All of my known and unknown ancestors. And people that are alive, if you have family members, biological family members that are alive, ask them. Say, did you have a sister? Did they have a sister? Because a lot of the elders know. And once they pass on, they're leaving with all of that information. Don't allow them to leave with that information. Get as much of it as you can. So is it okay to keep the candle on? Address that. How can you add a list of unknown ancestors if you don't know them? So when I say that, I'm saying you're going to make a list. You're still acknowledging this is a space for them, because when you do find out their name, if you do, you can add it to that. You're not listing like unknown ancestor, unknown ancestor, unknown ancestors. You're saying list the ancestors at the top and put to all of my unknown ancestors. All of my unknown ancestors. If you have only two you know, you say I only know Pops and Pee-wee. Okay, ancestor. Pops and Pee-wee, all of my known and unknown ancestors. I acknowledge you. Right? Bless the altar. Can you elaborate? You're blessing the altar as a sacred space. You're deeming it as a sacred space. You're deeming it as a space for spirit to dwell, for you to be able to commune at, right? So that's it. You're blessing it. You can bless it with Florida water. You can bless it with oil. You can bless it with your hands. You can bless it with a thought. You can bless it with water. You don't need all of these fancy tools. You can bless it however you find led to bless it, but bless the altar as a sacred space, because these altars 9 times out of 10 was not used as altars. They were probably used as nightstands or coffee tables or stuff like that. Bookshelves. Bless it. Can I have an altar in my bedroom? Discuss that. And then the last question says, can you do how to build a portable altar? Okay, I'm going to explain that in a few. And I was told you shouldn't place an altar in a room where you have sex. That is disrespectful. So if you have the space, I agree. Again, however, let's be honest, sex is happening in multiple places. It's not only happening in the bedroom. So if you're going to limit yourself to only the bedroom, then don't place it in the bedroom. However, of course, don't go do it on top of the ancestor altar, right next to the ancestor altar, on a chair by the altar. Like, just keep it, hey. And if you have more space in your house, put it there. Don't necessarily put it in your bedroom. If your bedroom is the only place, look, put a partition up. You can even do that. Say if you want to put your ancestor altar in the living room, get a little partition and put it up so when people come over, they can't see what's behind it. It's like a little portable little wall. You can do the same thing in your bedroom. But I do think it's disrespectful if you have the space and you have the space to utilize and you're not utilizing it. And you're forcing them to be in your bedroom. I do think it's a bit disrespectful, and I don't think that'll go well. And then you said how to build a portable altar. Portable altar, you can get like a little box, like something like this. This is a big box, but they have them smaller. You can get them from Ross, TJ Maxx, like this. Like this, a little box like this, and it open up, and inside you can put little things, right? Little candle, little tea light candles, stuff like that. You can also get smaller boxes, or you can have when you go, like if you travel, you can set up a little altar, like in a bag. You always have your little Palo Santo, a little candle, a little Florida water, and then when you go and travel, you say, okay, I'm gonna clear this out, put a little candle, get a little bottle of get a cup or glass and put some water in there, place it here, and then anything I eat or anything I want to offer them while I'm here, I'm gonna set it here, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. A lot of times we complicate a lot of things. because we are listening to 1,001 people. It'd be information overload. So we hear so many different opinions and we don't know what to believe, who to trust, which is right, which is wrong. All I have to say, and if you have to take anything away from this, is to trust yourself. Don't listen to nothing nobody else said. You don't even gotta listen to me. Don't listen to me. Scratch everything I said and trust yourself. If that is going to help you feel better, is that going to help give you clarity, do that. Don't listen to Sunny. Don't listen to nobody else. It is you and your ancestors' journey. If you are being led to do something, do that. If you are being led to put something on your altar, put that, regardless of who said what and who did what, because your journey is unique. So trust yourself, trust your ancestors, trust your intuition, and know that all will be well as long as you're operating from your highest self and you're operating with the greatest intention to serve and to love and to cause peace and no harm against anybody or anything. You'll be good. You'll be good. And just trust yourself and lean into your own understanding and understand that you will not do anything that is going to harm yourself and harm others and harm your ancestors. Then you're doing the right thing, right? Just trust yourself and don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. And the worst thing is you fuck it all up. You mess it up. And guess what? You get to try it again. You get to do it again. And you keep doing it until you find out what my ancestor altar is now is not what it used to be. When I first started out, I had all type of stuff on there that I would be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I put it on my ancestor altar. But at that time, it worked. As I grew and as my ancestors grew with me and came along with me, I had to change. I had to change my ancestor altar. My altar had to change. The things and my offerings had to change. I'm not still offering them little 2-3 chips as an offering like I did back in the day. I'm not just only giving them my leftovers. They're getting served first. Sometimes they get their own meals. So yeah, just trust yourself, let your intuition and let your ancestors guide you, and you won't go wrong. Okay, if y'all have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them below and I'll be sure to answer them and address them. And until we meet again, remember, I love you.